it.
That's the hooter for the timer that's gone on in the distance. So we will get underway here.
And that's Nordhammer with an almost vertical pull, which Clark is going to have to run to field in their own end zone. Quite tight defense from the Swedes already, dumping it back to Clark. Looking upfield for options. Oh, and that is an unfortunate D, and the Swedes waste no time in putting that in the end zone. A very early break for the Swedes to start this game.
A very Swedish style score that. When I first started playing, we had a play that we called a Swedish. But basically after turnovers on the end zone line, when people were just kind of caught napping, you'd almost pretty much just pop it or drop it in someone's hands. Just take advantage of the fact that they're perhaps a little bit rocked, a little bit rattled. And the Swedes did that credit there, got the turnover right on the end zone line. And I mean, talk about striking while the iron is hot. I mean, it is absolutely baking, and they just like, you made it look so calm, so casual. And before you even know it, the Swedes are a break up.
That's unfortunate positioning for the dump there on the break side, which means the Swedes are able to poach off, get that block, and then immediately capitalise, quick fake, and then just in for legendary players that we'll be telling you a bit later about in this game. Pull just bounces out, be walked up to the front of the end zone. Vertical stack look from the tragic hips. Dump cut well marked out, and a scuba gets upfield, passes it back.
Utilising the fact that we don't have any wind to go with that overhead.
A good grab from Glazer. Looking upfield, doesn't have a lot of options. Swings to Ayuto. Ayuto to Zika. Back to Clark. That's not Clark. And a nice deep cut from Glazer, but it's looked off. Dump to Ayuto. Thinks about the deep cut, but holsters. Oh, nice put there. Zika on disc. Back to June. Strong calls from the around from the Swedish sideline, but finds a nice shot through the middle to Mykert. Back to Zika. June again. Very close to the end zone now. Not a huge amount of movement, looking for something to develop. And that's a really unfortunate one-handed drop from June, who has to take off as the Greyt Swedes immediately strike deep, but it's not two hands when possible. So we'll see the Greyt Swedes' offense now. Oh, and that is an unfortunate attempt at a trailing edge catch that just pops it behind the Swedish player, but it looks like there's going to be a bit of a discussion about contact.
Yeah, certainly they are engaged in conversation. I've not seen any hand signals yet, but I imagine it is a foul call. We're seeing here, there's a couple of players, he tries to snag it, and then I think he's already dropped it by the time it comes in, but made heavy contact, and maybe he's saying that it's dangerous play.
Lilo, I believe.
I think it's going to be the number 8 Wally Man who's bringing the disc back in.
He's an American import and is married to one of the ladies on the Curry Island team.
Oh, lovely. Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember.
We took upfield, they've got a vertical cut up. Very classic cut from the back. Just not able to be covered by June. And that is Thorvant with the score. Very classic Swedish offense.
Beautiful stuff from the Swedes. They've started this game red hot. 2 breaks, a 2-0 advantage. And they're looking to put themselves in the best possible position going into the bracket here today.
So we'll just see that the play, which, I mean, it's a fantastic bid from the Swedes.
Yeah, didn't quite get the turnover there, but they did in the end. And then with the mark a little bit far away, able to have the time to really kind of rock back and lean this roll curving backhand into the end zone for the goal.
I think the mark just not quite able.
Yeah, they bought themselves, and they're 3 kids here as well.
Yes.
This is one of the great things about kind of Masters level tournaments, is you do get that kind of family atmosphere.
So we've got Van der Valk to Clark on their end zone line. Excellent tight defense from the Swedes, but they've left a player free deep. It's put up, he's got no one near. Oh, but that's a really unfortunate misread, and this breeze, I think it just caught the underside of the disc and pushed it away from him. The Swedes once again on offense. And some nice front of stack cover from the Tragic Hips there. Good looking defense. Got a couple of cuts near the handler and rips an absolute massive put. Oh, caught under a lot of pressure. There may be a bit of discussion about whether or not that was a foul.
What I like is that immediately, rather than try and get back up and play, Viberi looked and actually had a check to see whether his opponent was okay.
Very nice to see. So just knocking on the door of the end zone line. Orland puts up a lovely little dish, and that is Viberi with the score for the Greyt Swedes.
I think the Swedes are on good form.
Too early to call, I think. Too early to call.
But they certainly look like, you know, maybe justifying their status as the favourites in this game. And if they can come with this, they're going to be, you know, going to be a red hot, a tough hour in the bracket. And, you know, they're a team that has that kind of that success maybe in their DNA.
Well, as we were told earlier, some of these players were part of the Swedish team which won gold in 1992 in Japan, and then went on to play the club championships in Colchester 2 years later, doing extremely well there.
If they were not older, you would be very surprised.
And a little suspicious.
Yes, but there is something that comes with, you know, even if it was a long time ago, knowing how to close out those tight bracket games is a skill maybe that you never forget. It's a missed throw, and it's right into the lap.
Swedes just immediately capitalising there. It's almost as if they were waiting for that throw and able to just perfectly execute their offence as Contour manages to rein in that bladey flick.
Wow. This Swede, it is utterly ruthless, and the fact that the Tragic Hips are calling a timeout here is not a surprise.
Yeah, I think this is the first game of the day for both teams, and it seems like the Tragic Hips are just not quite in it mentally. They need to perhaps wake up a little bit and get some goals in.
For the Swedes, I mean, they just have a killer instinct, it seems. That's a couple times they've just got the disc on a short field, and they're not waiting for everyone to get set up in the end zone, especially because they intercept it as well. Catching it is good, because one of the things it does, it allows...
So we've got Tragic Hips here to receive the pull, trying to get their first point of this game.
And for the Tragic Hips, it is a little bit like a Shakespearean tragedy at the moment, I'm afraid.
Oh gosh, has that rolled out of bounds? No, it's going to be right at the back of the end zone. And a great take by Clark, really saving Van der Valk's errant throw there. Oh, and that's just a fumble under pressure. No, there's going to be a foul call, perhaps just a bit too much contact from Viberi.
And again, you know, owns up to the contact, apologises, and we're back in play.
Clark again on that break side for the dump, but a bit of help from upfield. We've got Katz on disc, yelling that one of his teammates is poached, and on a high stall manages to get out a nice IO to Van der Valk on the sideline, puts a lovely throw through, and that is the first goal of the game. 4-man down, caught by Marianne Clark, and that was a very nice point.
I mean, the scoring catch from Clark was relatively routine, but that layout earlier in the point, we've seen how devastating the Swedes are off a short field. So, you know, the pressure to make that play from Marianne Clark is unbelievable.
Perhaps a little bit of, I don't want to say complacency, but there are some times when a woman on the pitch in open is not marked as tightly as perhaps a... Oh my God, that is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I think maybe as well the fact that, you know, again, it's the second time we've seen the Swedes have one of these pulls that rolls right the way to the back of the end zone. And Clark was just magnificent.
So really nice. This is a really nice sort of IO, not necessarily a lead pass, but straight into the chest. Really lovely positioning there. And yeah, just able to streak.
My height, for example, she's probably not getting that.
Possibly, possibly not.
This only works if people know how tall I am, which is not very.
So we've got the Greyt Swedes on offense. They've got 3 handlers back, now 2. One's clearing upfield. Not liking the upfield options. Dumped back to head to Follin. Kwamsoa, nice upfield cut. Oh, thinks about the hammer a couple times, but instead throws again. And quite an indoor-style blade. Looks for the swing, nothing there.
Taking advantage of the very calm conditions here.
Yeah, we'll see if that holds. Got Follin on disc. Oh, and that's an unfortunate, or well, not really unfortunate, excellent poach from the Tragic Hips player. So they will have a shot at their first break of the game.
Yeah, this is the first time we've seen the Swedes come out on offense, and credit to the Tragic Hips for stymieing in the red zone, and then that layout to get the block.
So shot through the middle. There's a deep cut developing. Looks it off. Zico coming under. Oh, and it's just maybe a high stall situation or perhaps a foul.
Yeah, I think the stall count was definitely rising as a defense, especially if you've got a large sideline like the Swedes do. It's not just the 7 or the 5 on beach who are out there. It's everyone on the sideline as well, giving that extra communication to really help out your teammates.
Oof. And man goes to ground to receive that. Got 3 handlers again, some clearing through. Just a little pop and another pop and streaking into the end zone, but chooses to dump it back instead. Low throw, knocking on the door, and that is well caught by Follin. No pass there looked particularly difficult for the Swedes.
Yeah, even when they were in tight spaces, they were calm, they were assured, and that's a bit more like we expected to see from the Swedes from the first few points of this game.
So the Swedes maintaining their 4-point lead, and we've got Katz walking onto the pitch. I think there was a Tragic Hips player who got slightly confused about which end zone he was meant to be in.
well, give him the benefit of the doubt. He's just wanted to give yeah, they probably just got the wrong end zone. I was trying to explain my way out of it on Flash, who informed me about that one. It is, I have took that advice to heart.
Wow, that is another incredible pull, coming in at such a steep angle, but it seems like Van der Valk and Clark are getting used to fielding those pulls. Sorry, that's not Van der Valk, that's Katz. So very loud stall count from the Swedes, and a scuba, I think, maybe slightly panicked from the shouting stall. Swedes immediately picking up and looking to capitalise, but it's a spanner in the end zone, and Katz will run it forward. A little bit of bumping on the mark from Person, perhaps.
Yeah, just trying to maybe slow down Katz and bringing that to the front of the end zone. I was going to say, you do not give the Swedes a short field, but I guess maybe every now and again you can get away with it.
So Tragic Hips with another chance, and that's a very nice break, but unfortunately the cutter had already passed it. So a lofty disc is sent up to, I believe that is Edstrom. No, it's not. It's Viberi. He's become quite the goal scorer in this game.
Swedes and short fields, I mean, it's a match made in heaven, it seems to be, because they've consistently got that pressure on early in the point, and they're getting a turnover not far outside the attacking end zone, and it means that, you know, a lot of these times they're scoring in 1-2 passes, and it's, you know, they've already got a larger roster. The Tragic Hips only bought 12 players this week, and Robert Engelbrecht is not playing because he's got an Achilles problem, so they're only down at 11, as opposed to 18 players for the Swedes, and they just look fresher and they look sharper, especially because it feels like they're not having to work as hard to score.
Yeah, those short field turns definitely mean that, you know, your defensive line isn't that tired because the points are short, and so you can just put them on again and try and get another D.
And your offensive line has barely seen the field.
God, just look at that speed from the Swedes in. Oh, and wow, well fielded by the Tragic Hips. Really good disc positioning, disc reading. So they are somehow still on offense.
Yeah, that was very dangerous, but well bailed out there by Makeup.
And some nice little give goes. Oh, cheeky offhand, I believe. Oh, and well caught. Seems like the Tragic Hips aren't making things easy for themselves, but they're still managing. Working nicely around the back now. Near the end zone. Not a lot of options. Safely dumps. Inching closer and closer. Looks off the line. They've only got 2 players in the end zone, neither of them moving very much. And that is a bladey flick, which is just going to get caught by the wind and pushed out and onto the end zone line. 2 cuts to roughly the same space, but manages to get the swing off. Slightly slower movement. I think all players are potentially a bit tired, and a floaty pass is received. Lots of very small passes here. Follin sort of gesturing to an area where he'd like a cut, but Glazer is poaching in the lane, making it harder for the Swedes to get that pass off. Edstrom goes up, gets low, and well read by Spongberg.
Well corrected.
Different alphabet's always a challenge. And there's a Blady look. Oh, and just looked like it had a bit too much zip on each. It's very fun to watch.
I mean, playing the conditions. They're playing the conditions, and why not?
Oh, big, deep cut from Maker. Takes off his hat so he can read it better, and it's kept in. Is it in the goal? That is an incredible cut and an incredible throw. So, Tragic Hips still putting points on the board. Oh, no. No, I take all of it back. It was out of bounds on the floor.
Just a frustrated, oh, never mind.
So we've got this sort of poachy, not quite a zone, not quite not a zone defense from the Tragic Hips to just slow down that first pass out of the static setup. But the Swedes are getting it moving. Lots of lateral passes using the full width of the pitch. Swing back to the middle now for Konzur.
Sidelines for both sides getting loud here, trying to give as much information as possible. Well, I don't know how they got away with that one.
That was an interesting series of events. I think Gala just, Follin just let go of that a little bit later than he originally intended, but excellent heads-up play from the Greyt Swedes to be able to receive that high and then immediately strike for goal.
I mean, this is one of the things that comes when you've played so much Ultimate as these players have, is you know that you've got that slightly wider peripheral vision, you've got your head on a swivel, because you know that the disc, even if it's not supposed to, the disc might come to you at any time off a missed throw, off a tip, off, someone not catching their D. You've always got to be alert, you've got to be alive to it. This is that deep put, so we're seeing it down there, chasing it down the far sideline. Yeah, it just tails off a little bit in the end. And so the foot's definitely up and he's landing. Yeah, he is out of bounds, just about. Just couldn't quite drag the feet there.
Well, it's definitely so difficult when the disc is trailing away from you. And here we'll see this deep put that zinged across the middle of the pitch, but well fielded and then just an immediate shot.
I mean, I'm sure that's exactly how they drew it up.
That's one way to take half.
Yeah, I mean, would have to be the most unlikely of comebacks here from here.
I mean, we would love to see it, don't get me wrong, we would love to see it. So we've got the Greyt Swedes coming out on offense out of half. So an unfortunate situation for the Tragic Hips. So we've got Lorentzen on disc. He's got an up the line cut from a player whose name we don't have. Greyt Swedes striking deep and a big high release backhand. Oh, but it's fielded by Katz, who gets a bit of a slap in the neck for his trouble. But it looks like there's going to be a foul on the throw.
Well, I thought for a second there that Katz had got the cream.
Oh, you.
Come on, come on.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good.
Thank you.
Another high release to Orland. Swings to Nordhammer. And it's a lovely arcing break over to Lorentzen. And that is the Swedes holding their offense out of half and extending their lead to 7 points.
Only the second time the Swedish offense, they've started a point on offense, and again looked pretty assured there, with the exception of the steal from Katz that was sent back on the foul on the throw.
I'm just very disappointed that Nordhammer has not thrown more hammers thus far this game.
Right? I know. Like, I think his full name's actually Nordic Hammer, and this is an abbreviation.
Oh, potentially.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
Haven't I?
no. I'm on board. That is the hooter for half time, but obviously we've already had that point.
So another punishingly deep pull from the Greyt Swedes.
I mean, the pulling has been immense.
June to Maikut. Big force from the Swedes. Not a fan of the up the line cut. Swings instead to Ayuto.
But it's good that up the line cut came because A, it cleared out the space for the swing, and B, it got the force shading over to strike over that force side a little bit.
June back on dish. She's pointing to where she wants the hammer, but instead throws a nice bladey up the line shot, and there is an up line, and easily collected very casually with the one hand by Maikut.
There we go. There we go. I love the fact that faking the hammer there from June, even if it doesn't go again, it gets the defence second-guessing themselves a little bit more there, and it helps free that space on the open side.
I'm not sure how I feel about that one-handed catch, given we've had a one-handed drop earlier in the game, but
it's so much cooler, Ali.
Oh,
you know
yes,
this.
that is true. I mean, I can't argue with the coolness.
It's cool until you drop it, obviously.
Yes, that's very true.
But we'll see it again on the replay. And again, as you mentioned, pointed where she wanted the hammer, and that made the hammer fake, I think, a bit more convincing.
That's true. You've got to really commit to the fact that you want the hammer and where you want the hammer. So we'll just see that slow motion, snags, and then to that.
No, I was just about to cop. I was going to say that actually we've had a decent little crowd here from just kind of general beachgoers here. A lot of whom have picked up discs from Ichnos Flying Disc, the host club for this event. So it's good to see that kind of there's a bit more awareness and that people are enjoying the Ultimate on show that I have to say has been of a very good quality.
And especially in this game.
I mean, the Tragic Swedes are putting on a bit of a clinic.
The Tragic Swedes?
I've combined the teams there, haven't I? It's the Greyt Swedes, and it's been a clinic from them.
Oh, that's a beautiful IO backhand shot, caught in stride by Danny Eriksson. I do love that IO backhand shot. You know, why throw a bladey flick? You could just throw an IO backhand.
Right, you know, they're not going for the overhead, but they are opening the arsenal a little bit here and just showing a little bit of cheek and creativity.
And also the fact that that throw is affectionately termed the Grandad's backhand is especially fitting for this Greyt Grandmasters tournament.
Going to see it again here on the replay as well. Gets it up line, catches the disc, looks downfield, and then just floats it and sits it up. Van der Valk is nowhere to be seen. And nice catch by Eriksson at the back later today in their quarterfinal. So doing a little bit of scouting here, which is nice. It's good to see that, you know, they're doing the research.
So we've got the Tragic hips on offense. Oh, goes to ground, but well received with two hands. Dumps it back. Looking for a long shot. Oh, but it just curves away from Mike there.
Just got the wrong edge on it, and maybe there's a reason, because it's going to go back to the thrower.
Yeah, quite difficult to shin, as the disc hadn't been tapped in before Ayuto started making his cut. So disc is now in play. Ayuto immediately looking back to Glazer. Oh, and Glazer tries to find June, but it just bobbles out of her hands. And the Greyt Swede have another chance to extend their lead.
Yeah, Edstrom didn't get a hand on the disc, but just did enough to flash into the field vision and distract June from making the catch.
So a very loud pick call, and wow, that was casual. Just caught and immediately put back, of course. So Greyt Swedes about level with the brick mark now. Big floaty put by Edstrom.
Getting into really the heat of the day here. You know, again, you've got to make sure that you stay protected.
So June. Oh, there's a deep cut from Mykut. He's been a devastating deep cutter in this game. Nice up line. Oh, and a heroic bid from Ayuto, but it's picked up by the Swedes. That's a very floaty disc to Edstrom.
Again, the Swedes would much rather get the disc into play quickly and get it moving rather than take their time slow and set up.
Setting up in a horizontal look, quite near to their own end zone.
I'm very much enjoying that players from both sides are just having kind of casual chit-chat on the sidelines with each other during the stoppages. It's nice to see that kind of they've got that interaction and that friendly vibes.
Yeah, it's always really lovely to see teams just interacting with each other. And there's a massive hammer from June. And somehow caught by Mark Zika. What an incredible take. Oh my God.
I mean, should that have worked? Maybe not, but was it cool as all hell? Hell yes.
Oh, we can see Gwartz is just running over to Zika there, giving him a bit of a hug. That was I mean, magnets in the hands, something like that. Just an incredible, incredible grab.
So we're going to see it here on the replay. It's June again. She pointed that she wanted the hammer earlier, so you know she's not afraid to throw it. This time she does it, gets air underneath it, a little bit of height matchup, but he goes up early and he just seems to hang in the air a little bit longer and goes over the top. What a play by Mark Zika.
Oh my word, that's hopefully the galvanizing play that the Tragic Hips need to put a little bit of fire underneath them.
I mean, even if this game doesn't go their way, you know, they can always look back and say, we had some really nice moments.
It's all about the highlight reel. At this point, it's all about the highlight reel. So we've got the Greyt Swedes just working it round the back, happy to dump and swing it until something develops upfield. Nice fake and an inside to Spongbury. Dumps back to Thorvant, swings to Vibury. Spongbury once more. And a nice deep cut. That's going to be Thorvant collecting the goal. And the Swedes now 10-3 up.
We're seeing the Swedish outline a little bit more in the second half. And I think that's actually doing them some good, because often, you know, if you're in a game and your D-line's getting a lot of breaks, you know, as an offensive player, you're not necessarily getting on the pitch that much, and sometimes it's easy to get out of rhythm, to lose your energy a little bit now. So sometimes actually the fact that they're kind of coming on every other point and they're trading for a bit is maybe just kind of getting a little bit more feel back in the hands for the Greyt Swedes, so that if they do go on a break train again, you know, maybe we'll. Oh yes, let's see it again. Oh, yoink!
And the Swedish player gets so close to it as well, but
it's the fact that it's like kind of having disc flat and he's kind of coming over the top to just punch it away. It's incredibly satisfying. Here is that last point from the Swedes, which is a lot less spectacular, but I'm not sure the Swedes will mind at all.
No, good ultimate is often boring ultimate, sadly.
It's a shame that, really, isn't it?
It's really a shame. Oh, a little bit of trouble fielding the pull from Glazer there. They're now back, slightly slower run down from the defensive Swedes. And a nice Nikolaou through. High release backhand break. This is lovely from the Tragic Hips. But Swedes managing to filter through. Looks like they're poaching underneath quite a lot, really causing trouble for any Tragic Hips players who want to get an undercut. We've got Glazer looking upfield, and it's another hammer. Can he repeat the success? Yes, just kept in. And there's a nice cut from G, but not put in. Glazer yelling for the disc. He's not keen on the open under, prefers an IO. And a very nice cut. It is once again Mark Zika. It's just, looks like he's praying.
A little bit gassed, maybe. I'll tell you what I liked about the cut there from Zika. He didn't do anything, but he noticed that the play was kind of coming up the line. The defenders perhaps maybe expecting the disc to swing over to the far sideline. So actually he knows, why would I move? Because if I move one way, I'm limiting the amount of space I have. And if I move the other way, I'm just going to have to come back here anyway. So actually, he does I mean, obviously it's a veteran move, but like, he does the smart thing and realise, I'm going to be efficient with what I'm doing. And actually, being efficient with what I'm doing here means that I don't really have to do much to move at all.
We just saw some great footwear from Micah and a lovely IO break from Glazer, who then just immediately, or rather that's Micah, just immediately
towards the far sideline, and that's all that Zika needs.
So while the points have been few for Tragic Hips, they have been of exceptional quality. So we'll see the Greyt Swedish O-line. Don't know why I feel like I need to roll the R on that one. So we've got Vibury, fakes a hammer of his own, but swings instead to Orland. Another swing to the sideline for Consoir. And a stoppage in play. Orland pointing up the field. Look, we've seen actually, which is really lovely. Nice little swing to Vibury. Back to Orland. Nice round break to Vibury. Looks for the dump. Swings across to Orland. Lovely upfield shot to Consoir. Looking upfield. couple of people in the end zone, but dumps it back. Very gentle hammer fake. Maybe just acknowledging I see you. And that's a high release flick to Viburi, who has been devastating in the end zone in this game. And the Swedes looking very calm, very unbothered, putting in yet another point.
Slight breeze beginning to pick up here, and then just using the high release to sit that out there and play it out. Those high release flicks are really difficult to execute, but it was done expertly.
Yeah, I think the wind is just starting to pick up slightly more, just ever so gradually increasing in strength. But the high release flicks, especially if they're blading, showing that top side of the disc to the wind and making sure that it's not going to tip it away out of the sideline. So while it works, might as well throw it. So we'll just see it again here. This very calm Swedish offense, you know, once the stall gets to 4 or 5, they're immediately looking to their dump. And there we go, just a little blade. Viburi able to leap up.
Hips. You know, they've been a lot better in the second period. I just feel like they've given themselves too much to do.
Yes, they've certainly, as I think I said earlier, not been making it easy for each other, which is not to say they've not been making incredible plays, but they've been forcing each other to make incredible plays, which can be very tiring, especially when you have a relatively short roster. So they've got lots of really nice lateral movement from the hipsters.
Foul on the mark. Sponbury just getting a little bit handsy, perhaps.
Good hand signals for marking infraction, though. Not one you see very often. So Glazer on disc, up the line to June. Thinks about the deep cut. Looking for a dump instead. Finds Zika. Zika looking for a dump. Oh, but throws a lovely, well, I say it was lovely. Looked like it might well come back in, but Swedes setting up in a vertical look. He's got a dump back. Throws a blade. And a high floater disc over the head received by Follin, who immediately launches deep with a very beautifully weighted throw to Jonas Lorentzen, and that is a really, really lovely disc.
Great Swedes, still looking good when they've got the disc in hand. Only 1 point away from a victory now that you'd have to say they have thoroughly deserved.
Yes, I mean, there are some discs which just, you cannot improve on them. You see it go up, you're like, yes, that literally could not be any better. Absolutely perfect, and that was one of those discs.
One of the things where as a defender you kind of just have to, you know, shrug and say, well, not much I can do about it.
Yeah, there we go. So coiling the arm, releasing, and it just floats down so perfectly. Looks even slower in the slow mode of Ultimate. Share with your friends. Please engage.
There's the 5-minute hooter.
So we've got Tragic Hips working hard on the sand. Fantastic bid from the Greyt Swedes player, but launches deep. Is it going to stay in bounds? Oh, that's so unfortunate. Just looks like he was a little bit preoccupied with keeping his feet in.
I thought he was trying to go for the greatest, perhaps.
Oh, really?
I have to look at it on the replay. But the bid came in on the underneath cut, and it meant that the thrower's got the disc and there's no force on, so you've got a bit more license to throw it deep. That time again, just struggling to keep it in play on the far sideline.
Swedes continuing to move the disc very quickly, not letting the stall count get much above 5, and that's a lovely cross-field throw to Nordhammer there. Got Konjoa in the middle of the field. Nice inside break. Back to Nordhammer. Viburi. And that is another lovely bladey throw to Nordhammer, who I think was every other pass for those last 5 or 6 passes. And that is going to be game to the Greyt Swedes.
And they were immaculate. They were brilliant, you know. Tragic Hips, they hung around. They got better in the second half, but the Greyt Swedes were just a cut above.
I think I could probably count the number of mistakes made by the Greyt Swedes on one hand in that full game. Maybe I would need a couple of fingers from the other one, but really they were so clean, so precise, so calm. Just a masterclass.
Yeah, there's the replay of that attempted catch from Quartz on the far side, but he couldn't quite keep in, and then moves the mark over. resets into the centre. Borland looks downfield, just slings the blade deep. No one even close to Nordhammer, and that is a very strong way to take the victory.
So we will leave you now. We have quite a long break, just so to avoid the players playing in the very hot midday Sardinian sun. So we will be back at 3:30 with a quarter-final. We are not sure yet who is going to be playing, but we will update our Instagram and various other socials so you know exactly who is playing as soon as we know. If you've enjoyed the stream, as we said, please do like and comment, do subscribe. It really helps us out and allows us to bring free Ultimate to as many people as possible.
We are a group of Ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, Ultimate TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Ulti.tv